Hello, I'm Wendy Brickman of Brickman Marketing, and welcome to the Brickman Banter Show. Today, I'm thrilled to have as my guest a good friend and a wonderful consultant, Marion Gellatly. She's an image consultant, and she's the owner of Powerful Presence. Welcome, Marion.
Hi, Wendy. Good to be here with you today.
Virtually, that's right.
Yes, virtually.
That's great to see you. So let's start out by you telling us a little bit about your background.
All right. Well, for now over 25 years, it's like I almost don't want to admit that, but for 25 years, you can tell that if I've been in business that long, I really love and enjoy what I'm doing. But I have spent my work week in retail dressing rooms and in clients' closets, except for the last 2.5 months, of course. But I'm there with them to help them through some phase in their life. Maybe it's a transition period in their life and they're wanting to make some changes. They're wanting to, change their wardrobe. They're wanting to stand out in a different way. They're wanting to relate to people differently. So that's what an image consultant does. An image consultant really helps their clients bring forth whatever it is in terms of their personality, their coloring, whatever goals they have in their life, the lifestyle that they are living, and really have them feel powerful about how they're showing up. Being visible and being powerful in how they show up is what I like to say. So I'm also a speaker and I'm a workshop leader. I'm a creator of many online programs. I love, of course, working one-on-one, but in these days, these times right now, I've been doing a lot of things on Zoom. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, wonderful. And thank you. One thing, I've worked with you for many years, and what I love about you is you're not only smart and experienced, but you're non-judgmental and you're gentle.
Thank you.
So no one has to worry about,
right.
It's like if you were to ask your mom something, there's a lot of, history with that. But if you're objectives and you're, experienced, so I highly recommend
Well, I think it's because it is a very personal, an individual is sort of putting themselves in my hands and wanting feedback, wanting honest feedback and wanting to move forward, but yet isn't looking for somebody that's going to criticize them. Right. So I've had many, many clients say to me, Marion, you're like a psychologist. How do you deal with all the things that you hear? And I don't know how I deal with them, but I do. And I think it's because I love my clients. And also I feel that, gosh, I haven't always been the most confident person my entire life. As a younger person, it took me time to build confidence and to feel like to deal with body issues and all the things that I deal with when I'm working with my clients. So I've really got a heart for the people that I work with.
Got great empathy. Yeah, it's a treat to see you all the time. So let's discuss some of the very helpful projects you're involved with right now. And I believe you brought some photos to share with us too.
I did. Let me just say, well, because of our 2.5 months of, not really being out and about too much, I really quickly recognized that, gosh, I was being invited to so many Zoom calls and noticing how people were showing up. Right. And I think for many people, it became almost an excuse. Well, if I'm at home, I don't have to pay attention. Or if I'm at home, I can go ahead and roll out of bed and roll right to my desk and not have to be prepared. In other words, not put on a pressed shirt or not comb my hair or whatever the case may be. And so I started thinking about that and started realizing that, oh my goodness, here is a way now that so many people are letting go of the professional image that they've really spent years and years building up. Exactly. And really in, 1 or 2 Zoom meetings, it can be out the door. So let me share with you. I will share my screen here.
Because a lot of people are working from home, but you still need to show up professionally.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So let me bring up the slideshow here. And so the title of this slide is Never Forget the Power of Your Brand. And that's what I want people to remember when they're on Zoom calls. If you're still doing business, if you're still, talking to prospects, if you're still talking to clients or your team members, the power of your brand is something that you really need to be thinking about. So here are two pictures of two women who are using Zoom, I presume. And the left-hand picture is somebody that's, there she is sitting on her bed with a cup of coffee and her jammies doing a Zoom. Well,
Right.
that particular message is very different than the woman that's sitting at the table, who also is very casual, but she's not in her jammies.
Right.
She's sitting up, she's got her hair combed, she's got on a nice sweater, and she is showing up. So it's subtle. Subtle differences can really say they can say a lot to the person that's actually observing and watching. So that, I think, is just something we cannot forget, that it's subtle. And why should we care? Well, we should care because it really can be a differentiator. So if we look at this woman, now remember, I've cut off the slides here right at the bust point and up, because that's what we see on Zoom.
Exactly.
So if you're wearing your jammies on the bottom, you're going to get away with it because it doesn't matter, because no one's going to see that, I hope, unless you
get
have to
up.
get up and
Yeah.
reach for something. And then, of course, we've heard all kinds of different stories and seen different things on Facebook about some of the scary things that we've seen below the waist. But if we just think about, all right, all we're now going to have to tend to is what we can see in that camera lens. So it can be a differentiator. And if we look at, picture number one, and then we look at picture number two, this is the exact same woman, but boy, the image, the professional presence that she is exuding in the picture on the right is much stronger and much more powerful. And also, it's kind of like we take her seriously. She's got on a casual animal print sweater, but she's got her hair groomed. We don't see any of the cleavage. We don't see any of the excess skin. And this to me is saying, look, I'm serious. I'm here on this call because, I want to get to know you. I want you to get to know me, and I take myself serious. So who has the stronger nonverbal messaging? So I just am encouraging people to really think about, when they're on their Zoom calls, to not really forget that their nonverbal messaging is oh so important.
Exactly.
So I always say first impressions matter, and here again, same woman, but a woman that has taken a little more time to groom herself with her hair, add an accessory or two, and also, just adding that third piece, I call it. So that sweater on top of the t-shirt or the shell underneath, for a woman, just adds a bit more seriousness about the look. So first impressions matter. And I would say that if we look at the first impression on the left, we might say, what do you think, Wendy, when you see that picture? What comes up for you?
She's going to the gym. I don't know. It looks very casual.
Very casual, or, she just didn't care enough to go ahead and pull the ponytail back and really, and really make it a little sleeker and fine tune it a little bit more. So I think the important message here is that as human beings, whether we want to admit it or not, we do make decisions about what we see. We make judgments. And the biggest judgment we make is based on what we see, the appearance and the body language. So let's not forget that we may never have a second chance to make a first impression. We may decide just from what we see that either we can't relate, or that person isn't serious, or, it's not going to be a good fit, and we move on. So that happens even on Zoom as well.
And it can get in the way of your message if you're trying to communicate.
It definitely can. I call that being distracting. Yeah. So it distracts from your message. And you don't want to, so clothing isn't about looking all fabulous, if you will, but it's about being appropriate. Okay. And let me just tell you, appropriate for what? All right, so be appropriate for the industry in which you work, or the organization that you work for, or the job responsibility that you have, or the occasion that you may be going to or attending. So you really have to think about, because it's not universally accepted what appropriateness is, because from industry to
Right.
industry or organization or even job responsibility, it's going to change. So you've got to ask yourself those kinds of questions. Also, the other thing that changes often is the geographic location or the region in which we do business. So we know in California, we are more casual. But if you go to, a major urban area, it's going to look very different. So rural versus urban is going to be very different. And the region, the West region, the West Coast versus the East Coast, it's going to be more casual here. So you have to think about who you're doing business with. And if
Exactly.
you're going to be doing business that with people that are in a more buttoned up industry, or with a more buttoned up organization, or happen to be on the East Coast, you're going to have to shift how you show up and what would be appropriate in terms of making that first impression be a positive one. And of course, appropriate for the job level of your position. Are you leading a team, or are you part of a team? Are you a team player, or are you a team leader? And that's going to look differently, because a team player always is going to look to their leader to show up strongly, powerfully, with, respect. And so, you can't let that down and kind of be like everyone else if you're in the lead position. And then the goals you have. Maybe you're looking in your company to want to get a promotion, or you want to attract a client that is a really important client that you haven't had the occasion to attract yet. So think about all of those things as you're thinking about your goals and your role in your life. Always
Would you
think about the,
suggest,
yeah.
you dress a little better than less? If you don't know someone, it's a professional meeting, you err on the side of more formal, not, I know men have it harder. Do you wear a tie? Do you not wear a tie? Do you wear a collar? Yeah, you probably should. But women, there's such a gamut. So
There
just,
is a gamut. And yes, you are always better to dress at a higher level until you really understand the dynamics of what's happening with
right,
that individual, or with that group, or with
right.
that company, because you can always come down a notch. But if you're down too far and you try, you know, to level
Look
it up
like,
the next time around, it's not
right.
quite as well accepted.
No, you
So
lose
always,
credibility.
you lose credibility. Obviously, yes. And then here is the its credibility is one of the things that you want to leave behind as a memory about you. Then that desired impression, thinking about, is that what I want to leave behind? Or do I want to leave behind, I'm just a really creative, artistic individual. So my style and how I'm going to show up for that is going to be very different than maybe if you're working on Wall Street, or you're working, um, let's say, in an ag business, or you're working in hospitality. All those things, depending on your industry, is going to play into the desired impression, the visual message, and the statement that you want to make when you're interacting, whether it's in person or whether it's on Zoom. Doesn't change the role. And then, of course, the time of day and the time of year. So we adjust our wardrobe. We know that, daytime versus evening, winter versus summer, just being appropriate for the time of day and the year as well. So being appropriate is something I'd love to have everybody really think about before you get dressed. So I always say, think about tonight, what you're going to have going on tomorrow, and then think about all these questions. How am I going to show up to really present myself and my presence in a way that I'm not going to be a distraction, I'm not going to be a turnoff, but I'm going to fit in, and I'm going to look like I'm the expert, or whatever it is you want to really convey through your professional image. So this is where your
Good advice.
clothing really comes into play. So so strongly. And I think a big part of how we show up is using colors that bring us alive. People react to color, they love color. I think if you think about when you go into stores, hopefully very soon, we'll be back to that. We're usually attracted to colors on mannequins or colors on a rack that make us happy. All right. So think about the same is true when you get dressed and you wear a color that brings you alive. People automatically are drawn to you. And color has psychological meaning. So, wearing certain colors are going to convey different kinds of things. And so I'm not going to say too much right now. I will tell you here in a moment how you can learn more about these things. But you can see, here's a picture of a beautiful woman. She's a redhead with that beautiful skin. And all of these colors that you see that I've placed next to her are all colors that she can wear beautifully. But each one of these colors says something different. Some are very serious. The darker colors are more serious. So if you've got to be serious, then you're going to wear darker colors. If you want to be very approachable and want people to really engage with you and interact with you and not be intimidated by you, then you're going to wear things that are a little bolder or a little more even pastel, if you will, so that they're willing to, walk up to you, talk to you, pick up the phone and call you, get engaged with you. So color has a way of really bringing you alive, and also you sending the message with your color.
And I'd like to add, you work very astutely on the palettes for your clients. And this image just shows how subtle it is that, you go in the store and you go, is that the right pink? And you give people a palette that they can bring with them so they can see, it's the exact blue red that you want versus an orange red.
Well, every one of us, if we even compare, Wendy, you to me in terms of our coloring, look how different our coloring is.
Yeah.
So while we may be able to wear a couple of colors that are the same, by and large, the color palette is going to be very different. And what do I mean by a color palette?
There it is.
Well, here is my color palette.
Right.
And so if I put these colors under my face, you can see all these colors harmonized, just like the woman here on the slide. And today, I happen to be wearing this particular color that's on my palette. I'm wearing it today. And you can see, you're not distracted by it.
Exactly. It doesn't interfere.
It doesn't interfere. It's just there. It's lively. It's friendly. And
it's pretty.
I find that when I go into people's closets, I see a lot of mistakes when it comes to color. And what they tell me is, I've got this closet that's full of clothes, and yet for some reason, I never wear them. And that's a shame. First of all, you've spent a lot of money, you've spent a lot of time actually putting things in the closet. So why doesn't it work? And I find that many times it's the color that doesn't work. So you put it on and you go, I don't like that. And then you take it back off. Okay. But we want to really be able to identify, and I help my clients identify what's not working. It could be the pattern. It could be the personality of the piece. It could be the texture. It could be how it fits and flatters. So there are a lot of little things that we don't think about when we're buying. We just, have a tendency to buy what we see on mannequins and think it should work for us. And it obviously doesn't work that way. So let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, so I wanted to tell you about the class that I have coming up. Okay. And it's called the 10 Zoom Mistakes That Tarnish Your Image. And in this class, what I'm going to be doing is talking about, well, you can see it's scheduled for June 13th, just so you have that on your calendar, Saturday, June 13th from 10 to 11:30. The registration link is right there, so you could jot that down while I'm talking. But what are we going to cover in this class? Well, we are going to cover the power of your packaging and what you need to consider before you ever get on a video conference call, whether it's Zoom or WebEx or whatever the case may be. We are going to talk more about color and specifically what colors influence your message, and how to choose the ones that flatter you, how to choose the ones that really support your brand messaging, and also, really importantly, how to choose colors that are going to harmonize with the background that you see in this camera. So, you know, you probably have paid attention on Zoom to some pretty crazy things that you see in the background. And I'm sure you say to yourself, oh my goodness, you know, why didn't he or she actually see that or pay attention to that? So we're going to talk about how you can actually set yourself up in a place of harmony on a Zoom call. And specifically what to wear on camera and why. I think that's really the important thing, why. And there you go, the background to support you and increase people's confidence in what they see, because I can tell you, we all like to kind of peer into people's background and kind of see what's going on in the background. And so let's not make a mistake about what we have sitting in the background. I had a client tell me the other day that she was horrified by an employee that she was having a Zoom meeting with, when on a shelf behind the employee were beer bottles. Okay, now that was like, okay, that wasn't good. So she had to have a conversation with the employee, because this employee,
they weren't in the beer business.
They weren't in the beer business. Exactly. They were actually in the fundraising business. And can you imagine if you're trying to do fundraising and you've got beer bottles behind you? Okay, that's nonverbal messaging. Okay. And also, we're going to talk about lighting. I think lighting is so important. And you've seen people in the shadows, and you've seen people with half their face lit, and you've seen people with the light on their heads, and how all that works. So how do you get your lighting, and how do you get your camera position so that the overall experience for the viewers is one that is not distracting, and that it simply is one that's like, okay, I'm listening to the message. I'm not being distracted by all the things that I'm seeing. And then how to fine tune your etiquette skills. You know, business etiquette is just as important on a Zoom call as it is when you're interacting with someone face to face. So Saturday, June 13th, there is the registration link that you can go ahead and just get signed up. The cost of the call is $27, which is a real steal. 90 minutes at least. We go about 90 minutes. All kinds of opportunity for you to ask questions and get feedback, and be as engaged and participative as you'd like to be on the call.
And I've been on that class, and it's fantastic. There's so many subtleties, much like your professional image, that come along with these Zoom meetings. And I'm in the meetings industry as well as marketing and PR, and I know that in the future there's going to be hybrid meetings, which are going to be part in person and part on Zoom. And I want to also say, tell us your website where they could find that link as well.
Well, this particular link won't be on my website, okay, but I'll tell you my my website is powerful-presence.com. So don't forget that dash. So powerful-presence.com. And I am on Facebook as well, where you will see the link, and you can actually link through that. And my Facebook page is facebook.com/powerful-presence.
And the other thing you could do is go to the website, find your phone number and email, and then email, and you'll send them the link to register.
Be happy to do that.
Right.
Be happy to do that.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Well, it's a wonderful class, and I highly recommend that our viewers attend, because it is a great price, and it's just amazing how many subtleties and details that you should consider every time you do a Zoom call. And It's just, you made an expert. This was great to become an expert in this.
Well, this will be the
So,
third time I've done this class, and I'm doing it again backed by popular demand. The first two
absolutely.
were so well received and got so many, kudos and compliments that I decided, well, it's obviously something that people want, they need, and they want some guidance. So
Yeah,
June
just even
13th.
mastering Zoom, you helped train me on that because that's complicated as it is, let
Exactly. And
alone
it's
the
changing
image.
every day.
Pardon me?
I said, and it's changing every day.
It does.
Always little nuances.
Like
Yes.
Facebook. Facebook
Yes.
just added a new feature. All right. Well, why don't
Let's,
we go back to the other view?
you want me to stop sharing now and
Yes.
chat at all,
Yeah,
or?
let's chat a little bit.
Okay, very
Okay,
good.
good. Good.
Wonderful. And
So,
let me get to gallery view there. All right.
good. So let's just talk about how you define personal style.
Well, I would say very simply, personal style is a way to express who you are. It's a way to tell a story without even having to open your mouth. And I'm just going to say that whether we want to admit it or not, as I said before, we make decisions about things that we see. We make decisions about people we meet. And oftentimes we don't really even have conversations with people. So style is a way for you to let people know who you are. It's a way for me to tell you that I'm casually elegant, that I'm friendly, that I'm warm, that I like to laugh a little bit, I like to have fun. And I can do that not only through what I'm wearing, which is casually elegant, but also just, I like to have a little giggle with Wendy. I like to smile. It's just part of my personality. So it's kind of wearing your clothes and your personal style, but also wearing that body language as well. Yeah. So I think that it's really about knowing who you are on the inside and manifesting it on the outside. So if you're really a creative individual and you love things that are very organic or outdoorsy, you're not going to be wearing what I'm wearing. You're going to have your own style that says that, I'm very creative, I'm very artistic, whatever the case may be. So, yeah, style is about telling people who you are.
Right. What would you say are the advantages of developing your personal style?
Well, I think really that you can let people know about you. I always say your style,
Relationships, building a
yes,
relationship.
building a relationship, your style speaks on your behalf. So before anyone even has a chance to come up and ask you a question, kind of let them know that you're friendly, you're warm, that you're engaging. And again, through your personal style of clothes and body language, you definitely can do that. So it's a way of communicating.
What are some of the frustrations you hear from your clients that hold them back from having an effective personal style they love?
Um, well, I would say depends on the generation. A lot of my clients are baby boomers, because I'm a baby boomer as well. So people can relate to me that are baby boomers. And I would say the baby boomer generation has an issue about aging. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, because sometimes people will say to me, well, you know what? I'm at that age now, it just doesn't matter anymore. And I say, oh my gosh, it absolutely does matter, because the baby boomer generation is very vital. And no, we don't want to get
Active.
old, but we feel up here like we're younger than we are. So
Right.
style can really bring that forth. But I hear that a lot. I shouldn't care anymore, or it's not important, or my husband likes me the way I am, so I'm not going to spend money on how I look. And I always say, you know what, your style affects you first before it affects anyone else. There's nothing better than when you get yourself ready for the day ahead and you put a little effort into it, and you look in the mirror and you say, hey, you know, I put a little effort into how I'm showing up today because I'm important. I love myself. I like what I do. I want other people to know that I care about myself as well.
And this is kind
So,
of a golden opportunity era with the situation around us and stores reopening slowly. What have you found about sales and clothing and knowing what to buy is that's why we engage you, so you can help us buy what would be most flattering. But go ahead.
yes. So I think, first of all, sales are out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
just incredibly. So, I bought some things on sale, 40% off, 50% off. I even got a blouse that was 60% off. But the thing is that I'm very clear about my style. I'm very clear about my coloring. So I can go and shop on a sale, online or in a store, and I can be effective at making sure I'm putting the right thing in my closet. What I don't want anyone to do is to just go out and buy because it is on sale.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening with that is when I go into their closets or when we do a Zoom call and they take me into their closet via Zoom and they say, look, I just bought this and I don't know why I bought it. Or what do you think? And I'll have to say, well,
Diplomatically.
yes, I love it. Or no, you know what? We could have done better. And here's what's not working for you.
Good.
So why don't you go ahead and return it? So you have to be careful with sales, but this is an opportunity if you know your style to really go out and get some great deals.
And I think if you help us define our style and our colors, we're less likely to make fashion mistakes in
Fashion
purchasing.
faux pas.
Faux pas, that's a good word in French.
Well, the way I
Less
start
likely.
working with my clients is we define what we call their style recipe or their style story, one of the two. And they're really words that resonate with them, that describe their personality or the things that are important to them. So that, I said earlier, well, I'm casually elegant, and I didn't finish saying, but with a touch of drama. Okay, so you can see my hair is the thing that has the drama. So I just know that that's my very simple recipe. That's really my style story. And so we begin there with the client. We do the color palette to get the colors nailed down. We also work with body. You don't have to worry about me putting a tape measure around you. I'm not going to do that, but I can very quickly assess proportion. And having a style you love includes feeling really good in your clothing. And the way we feel good in our clothing is by having fit and flattery that works with the body that we have today, not the body that we had
Yeah,
10 years ago or 20 years ago.
of course.
Yeah.
And how can we add what you call a wow factor?
Okay, well, I think to add a wow factor, it's important to know what's out there because I don't like my clients to be trendy, but I do like my clients to know what the trends are. And then what we do is we determine, well, what trend that we're seeing right now, or we're seeing, coming for fall or summer, or whatever the case may be, what's going to work for me? So let me share my screen again.
Okay.
And so this is a trend right at the moment, brights. So this is one way to add wow to, let's say, a white pant or a pair of jeans, or maybe it's going to be the creamy pant or a black pant. So if you can wear brights, everything out there right now is brights. And when you say, oh, Marion, but I haven't been in the stores. Okay, I get that, but I'm on websites every day. So I'm looking for
Right.
things for my clients. I'm researching for my clients. And what I can tell you are brights are out there in a big way. Now, Maybe you can't, maybe you don't have the color intensity like Wendy has. She's very, high contrast, very intense coloring with a dark hair. And she can wear this blue beautifully. And she can also wear a red. Well, I know Wendy well enough to know she's not going to wear red there. She's going to wear red on the upper body.
Wear my sweater.
And there you go.
Yeah.
So what she has on today is she's got on a black sweater, but she's got the pinstripe in the sweater, happens to be the red. Now, one way she could pop that and add bigger wow to what she's wearing is she could put a red tank top or a shell underneath that sweater, and now it's going to really come forward and be a wow. So using,
but it's got to match, and it's hard to find reds that, especially
doesn't have
online.
To match exactly. It's got to be, so if it's a cool
in the family,
red, yeah, it's got to be in that family. If it's
right.
a warm tomato red, it's going to have to be in the warm tones as well. So yes, but that's one way that you can add wow really simply with a tank top underneath what you already own. It's already in your closet.
Good advice.
So that's one way to add wow. I will just say, however, for those people that don't wear that, let's say they like earth tones. There's a lot of earth tones out there in the marketplace right at the moment here, and this is just a sampling. So while the color may not be wow, you can see that the styling of each of the garment is very wow. This with the jumpsuit and the culotte type of a pant, that's very wowy. Now, we haven't been out of the house for 2 months, but now we're going to, everything is starting to open up this week, so it's very exciting.
Right.
So that might be, a wow sort of a look. The fabric here, you can see it's got a little bit of a sheen to it. The leather, again, sheen and leather, beautiful. And then here, just a pattern that, again, adds wow. And she can put that over a pair of jeans. Any of these tops could go over a pair of jeans or black pants or gray pants or white pants. So warm colors are out there if your personal coloring is on the warm side. And we don't usually see warm colors for our spring fashion, but this year we are. We normally see this. We usually see the neutrals, the cool neutrals. So, again, this is not to say that these add wow, but this is to say that if you are more on the natural or the cool neutral side, you can find things in the store this year that you couldn't find last year. And when you find things that really work for you in terms of color, I always say, go ahead and make an investment, because that same color may not come around next year. So make your investment when you see colors that really work for you.
Is there a Pantone color of the year?
Yes, blue. Blue is the Pantone color of the year. What is it? It's called classic blue. It's called classic blue. So it's not what I'm wearing. It's more of a royal blue, but not quite that intense. And it's everywhere. So blues are very, very popular. So talking about shopping online,
relevant,
which is what I've been doing, and I've been doing a lot for my clients. I think I have a lot of people that say to me, oh my gosh, I would never shop online. And I just want to, encourage you to think about the possibility of doing it or having me do it with you, because we're not going to get back to where we were for a while. Correct. And so if you're yearning to add some things, or you've got occasions coming up, or you're going to be out there interviewing for a job, or you're going to be, speaking on a Zoom call or whatever, and you need to think about, all right, what am I going to wear? And maybe it's going to require that you do a little online shopping. So I just want you to think about that shopping online requires flexibility. That's really, really important. And what do I mean by that? It means that you may have to order more than one size. You have to be flexible to see if you can really nail the fit. So for instance, I was shopping for a client whose granddaughter was being married. And this was actually before all of this started. It was, I think, in January that I did this work. The wedding was in February. But we didn't have the type of thing that she was looking for actually in our community. So I had to go online. Well, the flexibility required me to order out her a couple of different sizes in a couple of dresses, and to have her be flexible enough that when the things arrived and she opened the boxes, then we were able to check out the fit, check out, the fabric, check out the color, sizing, all those things, and make sure that she found something that really worked. And we were successful. But it
Great.
required her to be flexible and me to be flexible in how I was going to prepare the box for her. So determining the correct sizing, that's what I'm going to say, that knowing your body and reading the reviews on sizing. And oftentimes online, they will have a table that will show you, well, if you're typically a large in, let's say, Eileen Fisher, you're going to be a medium in XYZ, that kind of a thing. So use the tools that the online retailers give you, and also really read the reviews. I get so many hints from reading the reviews where somebody will say, okay, well, this was very close fitting to the body, or this was very loose and a little bit square in the body. Well, that kind of tells me how I'm going to have to adjust my sizing based on what I'm reading in the reviews and what I'm seeing on these the graphs that they give me. And then, like I say, ordering 2 different sizes. Or for instance, for me, I'm short-waisted, so I will oftentimes order a petite and I will order a missy, and then I will determine, okay, what is better on my body. So
Good advice.
online requires that flexibility.
Of course.
And colors can be distorted. So if you're somebody that is following your palette to a T, then just know that that piece that you thought was very peachy, when it arrives, it may be very pinky. Okay, now I've had that happen to me. So I look better in peach tones rather than I do pink tones. Something I got was very pink. It had to go back. So just know that colors can not be seen online as accurately as you might like. So if you love the style, then is there another color that you might be willing to take a gamble with? So just remember that. Don't hang your hat on a color until you get it and you've got the flexibility then to either keep it or send it back. And right now the retailers have made it so easy, and I think they're going to continue to make it easy to actually return things, send you the labels, and you don't even have to pay for it. You just drop it off at USPS or UPS, and when the item is returned, then they'll go ahead and maybe deduct $5 off of your credit. But for me, that's worth it, just so I don't have to have the outlay at the front. So managing those returns, I think, is important, because if you buy things and they come in and you're somebody that doesn't manage the returns, what ends up happening is you get the boxes of clothes that either you're going to end up donating somewhere, or you're going to go ahead and just hang up and never wear. So make a rule that within a week of receiving something, you're going to have tried it on, and you're going to determine whether it works or not, or you're going to call me, we're going to look at it. I call it, kind of a purchase review, if you will, and we're going to decide, are you going to keep it, or are you not going to keep it? And if you're not, you're going to immediately get it out of the house and get it back to the drop-off point for return. So I think that's really important. Okay.
Good.
Enough about that.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, other things that you can do to add wow are things like a great leather jacket. I think leathers right now are wonderful. They're butter soft, they're lightweight, they're very colorful. You can also, as I said before, the pantsuit, the jumpsuit. Some people like them, some people don't. I think it's a great look, but then you have to deal with how do you get in and out of them when you go to the bathroom. And then, of course, very simple and basic things like having a denim jacket that you might like, update your denim jacket, do that every couple of years. I think that's just a really casual, fun way to stay very current. Prints and patterns, oh my goodness, prints and patterns all over the place. So what is the print or the pattern that you really like that fits into that style story or that style recipe? Whether it's floral, stripes, polka dots, they're all in the stores right now, and they definitely add wow. And then lastly, I just want to say the finishing tips. I want to say that the top 12 inches, whether you're in person or whether you're on Zoom, impeccably groomed, with a current hairstyle, current color, eyeglasses that again are flattering to your personal color, flattering to the shape of your face. Eyebrows, I think, is very important, especially as we get a little bit older. We start to lose the definition of our eyes. They kind of fade out a little bit. So an eyebrow penciled in is very important. Lip definition is important, certainly on Zoom calls or when you're meeting someone face to face, but even a gloss. If you're not into lipstick, a gloss just to finish off the look can add a touch of wow to the color, but also has the finishing effect. And then earrings, very fun, and that's a way to add wow. You can see all the dangly earrings that are so popular in the raffia. Necklaces certainly add wow and bring attention. It can be a single strand like I've got on right now, single strands that I've just layered, or multiple shorter necklaces, much like what Wendy has on right now, the shorter necklace, and she could, layer another piece in there if she wanted to as well. Scarves always add wow. Love scarves. It's one of my signatures, but again, choose colors that work for your own particular coloring. And shoes is the fastest way to update a look. And right now, raffia shoes are very, very popular. So you'll see a lot of this sort of look. So whether it's a very casual slide on, or whether it's a sandal or a flat or a wedge, have fun with updating at least one pair of shoes this season. So that, I think we made it through, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so there is my phone number, 831-625-2000, my email address, and my website. And on the homepage of my website, you can go ahead and schedule a complimentary 30-minute consultation with me. We can talk about what challenges you're having. I can make some recommendations or some suggestions of where to get started and go from there. So Wendy,
Wonderful.
I think that is it, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the share, and we'll go back to you.
Great. Well, I think you covered an incredible amount. One quick question, because we just got a couple minutes left. The colors that I saw, so for example, yesterday I posted something on Facebook which is what I thought was a purple sweater, and then everybody said, oh, it's a blue sweater. How, that was quite a difference to me when I was kind of amused and you saw that Facebook post. How can you compensate when you start looking around? Because that is also the same challenge you face in the store, that I may want a blue red rather than an orange red, but if I can't tell. So one thing, I have a light on right now, so you really can see. Maybe that's what happens. You should have a light to loop.
Well, certainly looking at things in light are going to be really the best thing to do. But what I have found is when you're online, or like when you posted that photo, we aren't able to control the color because monitors see color slightly differently. So it will adjust. But that color on you, whether it was the purple or the blue, both of those colors are colors that really work nicely for you.
And
so
I get full credit to you.
We have to be flexible.
And I get full credit to you because you had just done my color palette at the time, and you suggested I go to Coldwater Creek in our local mall, and there they were, and I bought a couple sweaters in the colors. So thank you. I continue to thank you, and I love sharing you with our audience. So I hope people will take time to get in touch with you. They can go to powerful-presence.com, email you, see some of your classes. And thank you so much for your time, Marion.
Always, Wendy, always enjoy it. And
Uh,
thank you for all you do in the community
all right, thank you.
to raise awareness for so many of the entrepreneurs and the business owners in our community.